Marvel Comics presents number 73, Weapon X, Chapter 1. Yesterday we went over the prologue, which was kind of as you said, a storm was coming, and you can kind of see Wolverine having these premonitions of his future. Now today, true believers, we go into Chapter 1, and Barry Windsor-Smith really does a good job of making the suspense a slow burn. Because you jump in, and before I explain how it's a slow burn, let's go ahead and give credit where credit is due. So this one, Weapon X, Chapter 1, Logan has been taken captive by a group of mysterious men. By Barry Windsor-Smith, doing the pencils, the writing, the ink, the coloring, and then he shares the lettering responsibilities with Jim Novak. The backup stories in this is Sha'ana, I think is how you say it, the Submariner, and the Black Knight. But like I said, we're not going to do the backup stories. We are just focusing primarily on the Weapon X backstory. So in this one, we see Logan is walking out of a bar to his car, which is a really nice roadster that he's rocking here. But then, here in the foreground, we see a man with a gun walk up. We see Mr. Logan. Phoom. And then the next thing you know, because remember how I said last issue yesterday how there was absolutely no, spoken dialogue. It was all, inner monologue boxes. So I like how that just kind of built up the tension with this storm's coming, and Logan's thinking, I keep thinking of the dagger hands in the death room. And now that he's been put under, we see this panel of him all tubed up, and these voiceovers saying, "Who shaved the patient?" "I did." "What'd you use, poultry shears?" "What?" "Look at the guy." Not exactly, I'm going to try to pronounce this. Feel free to make fun of me in the comments. Hate kofer, I think is how it says. And then the text that's really weird. I shaved him 20 minutes ago, and he was smooth as an 8-ball. So I like how they, Smith here just does not come out and say that Logan's a mutant. I mean, the readers know this because we've been reading them for years, but this is supposed to be in the past, and nobody knows who he is. And then we get another flashback. He's real heavy for just a little guy. And because, Wolverine's the best there is at what he does, you see him start to fight the goons. And then all of a sudden you see, "Heads up, gentlemen, the professor is arriving." Now check this out. Notice how the box here is orange. And as we come in here, you see orange saying, "Good morning, Professor." And you see green saying, "Good morning, Dr. Cornelius. Are we set to begin?" Tanks filling, sir. A few minutes. How's the patient? Could be better. He put up some resistance when the boys picked him up last night. They had to jostle him a bit. So you just see Wolverine just beating these poor dudes to death. And the professor, with no interest in his goons, he goes, "Is he damaged? Any deep cuts?" "Cornelius, he's okay. But we can't afford leakage. We plugged him up tight." "Professor, Dr. Cornelius, we can begin now." Now, what I like here, what Windsor-Smith does, is he establishes that the orange is Dr. Cornelius. And you notice that the orange, the green is the professor. The orange is Dr. Cornelius. And then the pink that's introduced here is Hines. And we were introduced to these characters last issue. And then as you go through, you start seeing stuff like feed, conductive feed, steady, feed, steady. So these are just the texts that are in the room doing medical jargon. And what's cool is once you figure out what color's what, your brain just naturally starts to understand who's talking, even though you have not seen a character yet other than the goons and these up close shots of Wolverine in the tank. So that's what I mean by a slow burn, is we don't see like Wolverine all of a sudden becoming Weapon X like right out of the box. It's a slow burn of him just being tubed up to everything, and it's almost just like watching, you know, one of those like slaughterhouse-esque horror films, because just the pain that he must be enduring, even though he's supposed to be put under with Thorazine, I think is what it's called. And if I could turn the page, we'll continue with the review. And again, you up close. And what I like is that it seems like a lot of these harken back to the prophetic thoughts that Wolverine had in the last issue, where you start seeing the dagger hands, the knife hands, the death room. And then again, you know, just the colors, because you see these bright pinks of, you know, this experiment going on. The dark blues of Wolverine being captured outside this bar. And then kind of the red when things begin to escalate, because you know, you start seeing this beep, beep, and Cornelius is like, what was that? The text says, resistance, sir. Compensate. And so as you see, they're still having this voiceover talk. We have not seen anybody. So finally, after X amount of pages in, we finally get an establishing shot. So it's like Windsor-Smith wants to keep you just as kind of disoriented and jostled as Wolverine must be feeling right now. Because the only type of establishing shot you get is of these Weapon X people kidnapping him. But then after that, you have no idea where he is. You have no idea what time of day it is. You're in this tank with Logan. You are trapped just like him. That is smart. It's just almost like doing it in film, where, you know, you start to feel what is it called? Enclosed, like the characters. So you start feeling this, like I said, disorientation and claustrophobia. And then we finally get a moment to breathe and understand who is who. So they can't understand why Logan is doing all these resistance and why he keeps trying to wake up. And so they're going through Logan's medical history. And so Hines is starting to pull up all this stuff. The professor's chastising Cornelius, saying, why didn't you prepare for this? And he's like, there's no way I could have. There's just no way I could have seen this type of person, you know, this person had this type of resistance to the medicine. And then the professor says something like, well, you know, if he was supposed to be banged up last night, where are his wounds? So they start kind of noticing things. And right here, Cornelius says, Hines, do you have readings? I have a trace, but no show. An hour ago, he had a dislocated jaw, cuts, abrasions. Now there's nothing. On the board, there's a definitive linear equation between his phenomenon and the intense cardio activity. And, well, I don't know how important this is. Seems silly, but Mr. Logan's hair is almost entirely grown back in just 20 minutes. And so you finally kind of get these up-close shots of starting to see Wolverine's hair grow back after looking bald there for a moment. And Cornelius is like, we seem to be in the midst of something unprecedented. Our Mr. Logan is something somewhat more than human. Did I skip a page? No. Just making sure, folks. Okay, so Cornelius is understanding that Logan's heart rate keeps increasing, and he's healing, and he's draining the adamantium reserves that they're pumping into him, because it's like one of the first times they bring up adamantium in this story. And so Cornelius needs to start making plans on how he can compensate for him draining this adamantium into his body too fast, because we don't want him to explode. You know, we want it to lace it to his skeleton, not become a big busted balloon. So anyway, that's where this book leaves you. Because like I said, it's only about 8 to 13 pages each in the beginning of these before they go into these backstories. So that the way that they leave this is you're just like, wait, what? Logan's not even out of the tank yet? I want more story. And what I like here is, like I said, the Cornelius and Hines figure out that Logan is something a little more than normal. Like, actually, someone actually says Superman in the book, so that made me laugh a little bit. I was like, I love that little nod there. And you get this moment of realization on the professor's face, and he leaves. And Cornelius is like, how do you like that? We're in the middle of a crisis, and he walks out. And so we're left with Logan still in the tank being operated on. We have no clear answers. We're in the middle of a crisis according to these doctors. And that's where Windsor-Smith leaves us at issue 73. Now, from what's cool is if you guys go to your local comic shop, which if you do, please make sure to support it and either pick up these original issues if you can find them. If not, they have a True Believers copy, and I think it collects, since these are like short, I think it collects 72, 73, and I think 74. So like the first 3 issues that we'll be going over if you want to read it that way. But anyway, guys, like I said, when I said at the beginning of this review, it's like a slow burn, because you start getting little tidbits. He gives you little tidbits of information, and then leaves you wanting more. As the old entertainment showbiz thing says, leave them wanting more. I want more. Like if I had my druthers, I would seriously just sit here and bust out the rest of the book and the rest of the series and just sit here and read it with you guys. But leave them wanting more. Now, I hope you guys have enjoyed this comic book and this review, or both. If you have, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share these videos across social media to get your friends and family excited about reading as well, because that's the whole idea of the club. And also, make sure to hit that fancy little Weapon X bell next to subscribe. That way, as we continue to upload content, you guys can get notified. You can come here to the channel, and we can have a dialogue down in the comments or on our social media sites. The links to those pages are down in the description below. So with all that said, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this review. And also, in the future, this is one thing I forgot to add. After we finish this series, if there's any comics or books that you'd like us to review, let us know. And if we can get our hands on them, then we'll definitely do a review, because we love being able to check out new books and comics as well. So again, I hope you all have a lovely new Comic Book Day Wednesday. I hope you get some great books, and I'll check y'all on the next review. Thank you so much for stopping by.